put into the Holocaust. They were in concentration camps. And after the liberation, they stopped to believe in God because the whole family perished, children, a wife, and everybody. You see, this is his belief. He doesn't believe it's a God. God exists. And other people became more religious because he survived. I am a survivor, he's a survivor, everybody is a survivor. And they became more religious. And they believe in God. They say in this way, if not God, the whole nation would disappear. Even the English people would disappear. Other people from other countries, Americans would disappear. Jewish people. You see, it's not a part of the Jewish nation disappear. If Hitler would go further, he would conquer England. Not everybody. Let's say England. How far he was from England? He could conquer England too. You see, now you can't say that's no God or it's God. If some believes what happened a miracle. If not God, the whole Jewish nation would disappear. You can put it.
Yes, sure. So I'm just sort of interested in different viewpoints of
you can
all
say,
the different
look,
people.
I spoke. You can say,
yes.
If you're going to write, I spoke to survivors.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, I spoke to one survivor says.
Yes, this is what I'm going to say.
After what happened to his family, he doesn't believe that the ghost exists.
Yes.
This is the answer. Other survivors say different.
They say because they survived, therefore there is a God.
I survived. Why? I believe
God. Yes.
This is the answer. Yes. You can't get another.
Sure, of course. But then, like some people would say, but how do you explain where was God and why didn't He interfere before? Why did He allow it to happen?
You can't say it. You can't say it. You can say it. It was a war. Yes, Hitler conquered a lot of countries. If he would conquer, let's say, England, then the Jews from England would also disappear. He would do the same what he did with Polish Jews. Now, happened a miracle. Who did the miracle? God did the miracle. But he started, in a certain time, he started to go back. And the Allies pushed him back and he lost the war. And a certain amount of Jews remained. Yes, you can't say that God doesn't exist. Exists, but haven't.
Because we sort of, in class, we discussed that there is evil in the world. There's a lot of evil.
It was evil
why?
Before too.
But then why,
Before the war.
if we always say God is perfect and God is good, why does He allow evil?
There's no answer. Nobody can answer you this. It's impossible.
You see, because I'll tell you what, in lectures we said, in the Jewish religion, that God gave man free will.
Yes.
So what man does with it is his own responsibility. So if man is free to choose and he wants to be bad like Hitler was, then God can't interfere because God gave him the free will to be like that.
Yes, but look,
So
I can't give you an answer.
Yeah, sure.
I believe another doesn't want to believe.
Yes, yeah.
Can you make another person to believe?
No,
Because happened to his wife and children disappeared, everybody. He could also disappear.
Yes.
What happened to him, America?
So he believes.
Wife and children.
Right.
It could happen to him too. The same applies to me. We were a family of about 87, 88 people. Nobody survived, only me. Why me? Why not my
Because God wanted you to survive.
And you can make it to this.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like how do you actually feel about the evil?
God.
Where was God, during that time? How do you explain it? That God is so good and yet He allows evil.
Now, we must understand from the point of view that God is the one who created man and the world. We are not to criticize God. We can only praise God. Because if we would be able to criticize God, we would be above. And man is not above. We must just simply obey what instructions what we got. And we have been given this Torah and asked to obey. Not asked, but to told. Okay, we have been told, obey the Torah. There are laws and there are chukim. A law is what a man can understand. A chok is a chok is a law which a man cannot understand. You must simply obey. In the Jewish attitude, in tradition, you will find there is tuma ugdusha. There is purity and there is uncleanliness, which man cannot comprehend. You must simply obey such a thing. Now, the one thing which Jewish people has got in common, With the Torah is that we have accepted it as such, we trusted in God, and what God has commanded us to do, we just simply do. Those things which we understand, we understand. Those things we don't understand, we can ask questions, but we cannot query.
Okay, so now how do you understand the Holocaust? Because that is...
That the Holocaust, in normal times, we would say that we have done something which is not right. We don't know what it means right. We don't know what we have done injustice to the people. We have done always right as far as we are concerned. Whether such a thing should have been occurred or not, we cannot answer. We don't know. We are fine. There was righteous people who shouldn't die, and they did die. Whether we are responsible for our neighbors is one question. Whether we are responsible for ourselves is another question. But one of the things must happen. That is the law which should have happened, and we accept it is law. Maybe if God has to punish those wicked people, and it took the Jewish people to suffer for that, we accept. Because nobody can query this. Why did my parents die who were nice, good people? I don't know.
So it's not to use if God sort of didn't do anything. He actually meant it to happen for some reason or other.
For one reason of his own. Whether it says like this. In the Bible we read, we can just go back and learn from the Bible, from the history. The Hashem Nisa et Abraham. God wanted to prove whether Abraham was true and honest to that what he believed on. And he took his son. Why should God take his son? We don't know why. But he took his son. He wanted to kill his son. Abraham was prepared to kill it because why? God has said so. Now, if we have to suffer for reasons which is unknown to us, if we have to say that if we believe in God, even if it will be one man will come back to life, will come back to a nation. So God has killed a lot of us, and after we have been dead, Israel was born.
So you don't feel bad that, say, your brothers or your mother and father or that were actually killed?
I feel that I have been deprived of having a normal life in my life. But if it's God's will that I should be the one to live, to survive, and cry over my people, and say, thank God what you have done is right, His justice is right. I am not so clever or strong that I could have survived on my own. All I do know is that whatever I have done and wanted to do, I went in the first fire, the first to fight, the first to sacrifice myself, and I remained alive. There was some brandy in my cup. Why didn't you bring your husband here?
He had to work.
Some girls.
Just like Mildred got.
No, this is, I want to sort of hear everybody's different point.
What I remember is, some boys and girls, they didn't believe.
This is before,
Before, I'm talking now 45. Right. And after some they change, some they are neutral. They're not neutral. They believe or they don't believe. They come to shul, they don't come to shul. Understand? I was one of the person I didn't want to believe, or I didn't believe God.
Because of the Holocaust. Just in general.
Because, I said, what is the life? Where I am?
Yeah.
You understand?
Okay.
What I am. Why I have these all things. But after I change, after 6 months, a year.
What made you change?
I don't know. Maybe the natural. Maybe the world. It's difficult to remember, first of all, 35 years ago. And I changed.
So you actually...
I don't believe only God. I believe also in division. And all these things. You follow?
So in fact, that the actual suffering and everything and the Holocaust made you not believe at that stage? Because of all the suffering and the evil that there was, there obviously wasn't a God.
Yes.
Okay,
You
yes.
register, can I tell you something?
Yes, please.
Please, I want to tell you. For me,
Yes.
I think I became more, I was already bring up in the religious family. My mother was a
Let me
rabbi.
just put this here.
And I think, with all the cruelty, I was nearly to death 2-3 times in the camp. Coming out, and I see myself healthy, married, and God was so good to me at the advanced age to give me even a normal son, which is a joy for me, and a purpose for living is this present that God gave me.
That's true. That's true.
And during the Holocaust,
During
where
the
was God
Holocaust
from?
also, we, on our way to Auschwitz, my father, they used to say to Raham Yaakov, just pray. And we were praying and praying and praying. But sometimes the evil, as you say, come, is not God, is the evil in these circumstances. The evil, it was the blood of Amalek which came and did what he did. It's not God.
So you say that God is different from
God,
evil. Evil is another
of course,
force.
evil is another thing. God has been good. He gave us the state of Israel for thousands of years ago. We've been well fed downstairs and we were afraid to say we are Jews. And today with pride, we say we are Jews all over the world. And in particular me, I told you about my son, which I was not 20 years old. I was much, much older. And all the bromure they gave us in the camp to sterilize us. And still had this beautiful and normal son. And that is something which I never stop any moment of the day to thank God.
So how do you actually, when the evil was there during the Holocaust, how did you feel that God was not powerful to interfere and to overcome this?
Always, not me, everybody, unless the one which they were not educated in the religious way, I was always hoping I want to come out. And I want to tell you, it's this hope and faith in God which kept me alive and came out of the cancer.
So you didn't think that, where is God now that we're all suffering?
I didn't ask because that I knew it was the evil. It was the evil, it was a moment of evil.
So you didn't even ask where was God?
I never asked this question. I know God is there, is going to protect us. And I had the experiences, I had with me 2-3 girls. And at one stage they said to me, they were very friendly, and the one, she was an Hungarian girl, beautiful, taken from the stage. And I used to say, Elizabeth, eat. She used to say, no, I want to die. I said, please, Elizabeth, eat. You want to come alive? We must. And she used to say, it's not purpose for me to come alive. What for? I lost my family. Instead, me, I used to have this faith. I never thought I want to die. Never had that in my mind. And this faith I passed through my little group which I had. It was 84 my group in Belgium, and we came alive only 12.
And you never asked why did God allow the others to die?
Again, we say, I repeat again, for me, I don't say
Didn't even
God.
ask, yeah.
I was
It's
asked
not
a
God,
question.
it's the-
Bible's not good to you. 95%.
No, that
was bad.
I didn't say it was good to me, good to the others. But it is a devil. It was a devil in the middle.
Are you better than the 95%?
No, she doesn't say that.
Did I say that?
No.
No,
But
you-
people
I
did
had
survive.
faith. I had faith.
because
That's
she
all.
survived.
Right.
The others
I
didn't
know
have
the
to
other ones, they didn't want it. They say, we want to die.
But hundreds did survive. That means that
And God
the hundreds
in
were
the state of
faith.
Israel.
Yes.
So you actually
God in
don't.
the state of Israel.
We people.
The youth, the Jewish
With
youth,
the help
in the
of God.
circumstances in the Jewish youth, in the also ghetto, they get the Jewish state.
Yes,
The
with the power of God.
God didn't give us. I'm sorry.
God didn't give it. But I did not.
He helped the people.
All right, shall we change the subject? Because this is really a subject that we can go around. And it isn't for us to cleverer people who are very well versed in Judaica, in our books, There is no answer to such questions, and it isn't a fair question anyway.
It is a fair question because a lot of people, excuse me.
But
The fair question is, what do you feel about it? You feel that you had the faith of God, yes? You had the feel that your faith in God is stronger than everything what happened to all the Jews, to your brother, to sister, to the family.
No.
You didn't feel this way.
I didn't have this feeling.
You didn't have this feeling. That's what we are talking about.
I didn't. But it's an individual thing.
That's what we are talking about. Everybody
person. Yeah.
Some people didn't feel at all.
about Holocaust. Is that God about Holocaust?
That is
Let Miriam say.
The way events took place concerning my life and my stay in the various camps and right through the war, I saw that as if there was something watching over me and protecting me. And I am not a Yiddish that believes in, what is the English expression?
Theophilis.
Supernatural.
Theophilis. Fanaticism.
Lucien? Jakie zabobony?
In English. Prejudice.
No, not at all.
Superstition.
Superstitious. Oh.
That's
Superstition.
I am not a person that is superstitious.
And you say
But the way, I survived and the way events took place concerning my life and my experiences, I saw I was really dragged out from the lowest, from the depths.
And so you actually believe that God was helping you?
I believe that there was some divine strength.
Now, to you,
I had a very, I must tell you, seeing that we're sitting around the table and talking about it, and I actually wanted this conversation to change. But I must tell you a funny thing. I was in Auschwitz, and I was ill with typhus. And anyone who was in the camps and was ill will know what it means. Normally, you didn't have a chance. The moment you couldn't drag your feet, you didn't have a chance. You went to what was called the Revier, and after a few weeks, that was the end. I was very lucky. I knew a Czechoslovakian girl. I met her when I was in Birkenau. And this girl was like my angel. Thanks to her, I survived. At that time, when I was ill, we had a selection. I was working in a Schreibstube where she was working. Now, she was from the very first transports in Birkenau, where tens of thousands of girls perished when there were no barracks even. From 1940-41, when we weren't even in ghettos yet. They were, the Czechoslovakian women were already in Auschwitz, in Birkenau. And a few thousand survived. Their numbers were just a few thousand. And so obviously they had the leading jobs, if we can call it that, the leading jobs in the camp. Now this girl worked in the Schreibstube. It's like an administration office. She worked in the Schreibstube, which was run by those that can still continue in the camp, go right. And their number is not written down. And at that selection, of course, the stick, when I went past, the stick went to the left.
Have you seen Dr. Mengele?
And my, of course, and my number was written down together with a few thousand numbers that day.
To the left.
Yeah. To the left, yes. We went back to the block, and the list used to go to the Schreibstube, and they used to type it out. That day was the kind of selection that they themselves didn't know exactly how many numbers were written down. They knew there were about 2,000, but they didn't know exactly. At some selections they knew exactly. So every number had to be called out. I sent word, meantime, to that Czechoslovakian girl that my number is on the list. But I had no hope whatsoever that she could do anything for me. Well, it so happened that 24 hours later, we weren't let out of the block anymore. We didn't go to work.
Block 11, no?
I don't remember. And then when the Stubenälteste came into the block 24 hours later and called out all the numbers, my number was not called out. This Czechoslovakian girl, they took out a few, they took out about 5 numbers then, because the assessment didn't know exactly how many. And mine was amongst the 5 that were taken. This is not all. Now, I was so thin and I looked so bad. After a selection, when all those that were thin and looked bad were all taken away, I couldn't go and work in the Schreibstube because the Germans used to come in there. So obviously, if they would have spotted somebody looking like they would have known that there was some schmuggler here. So she arranged to send me to another commando. And eventually I was sent to Auschwitz from Birkenau. The 3-day march in the middle of winter, because I had that bit of strength in me. Now, I was in Ravensbrück, and Ravensbrück was full. We were lying on the ground, and it was winter. It was already the beginning of 1945.
45.
I'm talking of the beginning of 1945.
January.
When Auschwitz was already liberated by the Russians, evacuated and liberated by the Russians, and we were pulled deeper into Germany. And one night, I was feeling very sick, and I was lying just on the ground. And you know, it's funny. All these years, I never night. It was February, the end of February probably, and I was dreaming that I was lying in a cot, and I was a little child and I was sick, and my mother was leaning over. You will remember the cots that children used to have in Poland with that
cane.
It wasn't cane. It was a kind of a string. What you make the macron from.
Raffia.
That's right, like raffia, yes. And you could put down that screen and you could pick it up. And I was lying in such a cot, and my mother was leaning over me and stroking my forehead, saying, "Będzie zdrowa, you'll be well, you'll be well." And you know, when I woke up, I had a feeling that this is not the end, that I am going to survive. That was one thing. Then I was in Malchow, another camp, which was about 100 kilometers away from Ravensbrück, and it was March, the end of March. And we were being evacuated again, deeper into Germany. As the Russian army was advancing on one side, the Germans were evacuating and pulling us with them. One night I was dreaming that I was smoking. I was sleeping and I dreamt that I was smoking a cigarette. And the smoke was spiraling in the air, and on the ground were hundreds of pairs of boots. Hundreds of pairs of boots and shoes. Boots and shoes. In the morning, we were on the road to be evacuated from this camp. And I was all the time keeping together with another young woman that came actually from Belgium to Auschwitz, but she was originally from Poland. And
Army.
Road, going. And if you dreamt of liberation, I'm next to you, I'm going to be liberated together with you, she said.
Yeah.
She went crazy. And I want to tell you, we went on the road, They were pulling us to another camp. We never reached that camp. The following day, on that road, we were overtaken by the Russian, by the forepost, or the officers. Officers, advance post. Yes, well, in German it was forepost. We were overtaken by the forepost. They told us to stay. There was somewhere. There were buildings near to the other camp where we were originally going. They hanged the assessmen who were with us at the time. They hanged them on the trees in that forest, which was on the side of the road, and we were liberated.
Which means that it was all fake.
I believe, looking back at it, that there were times when I envied those that went on the electrified wires and committed suicide. I envied girls that had the courage to do it. So I wasn't the one that wanted for any price to survive, to live longer. Not at all.
Did you pray?
I wasn't the one that would have killed somebody else if I knew that further down I will remain alive if I'll kill somebody. Not at all.
Did you at any time lose faith in God?
That's a question.
You can't give a cut and dry answer for this.
Did you believe that, God is just, he can't be here because look what's happening?
I will tell you another picture from my experiences. It was, I will answer her with a question. I will answer her question with the story. It is more, more expressive, I think, than words. It was 1944, summer, must have been June, July. And I was in Birkenau still. And the Hungarian transports were coming. I came from work, and it was after a peel already. It must have been about 7 o'clock. And the day is long in Poland at that time of the year. It was broad daylight and the sun was still shining. And I was on a block with other girls, and being such a hot day, and we did have water, some girls were outside in front of the block, washing themselves, tidying themselves up, combing their hair. And in the background, outside, far away, a few hundred meters away, the sky was black with the smoke from the chimney, from the Hungarian transport. On the other side, the sun was going down in a big round red ball. Next to our block were Ukrainian girls, these peasant girls. They were singing. These girls here in front of me were washing and tidying themselves up. And here I was standing, I remember it vividly, and thinking to myself, am I on this earth, or am I somewhere with the demons, or am I in another world? Could this be real? That on one side of the camp there is the smoke coming from living people, from Jews. On the other side, there are these Ukrainian girls that have got so much spirit and strength, they are singing, and here our Jewish girls still washing themselves, trying to tidy themselves up and trying to relax. It was unreal. And I really thought that I must have died, and I am somewhere in with demons. It cannot be that I am alive, that this is the world is quiet, and that such things can happen. That I remember thinking.
It's impossible.
It was unreal to me, and that these pictures that I describe to you now will be with me to the end of my life.
So you had your faith, but yet you still couldn't understand why it happened.
I don't know what I had. There was some providence sort of watching over me. I had that feeling because I didn't care very much for living. You know, when you're weak physically, you are weak emotionally, and you are depressed. And no matter how good your own spirit is in such circumstances, you cannot have a good spirit. Yes.
You see, I want to tell you.
There was another occasion when I gave it a lot of thought whether I'm acting right.
Special customer, eh? You're a very special customer.
There were 3 Hungarian sisters, daughters of a rabbi. And they were with us in spring 1944. And we knew that they knew exactly when was Passover. And they were the whole 8 days. There were some women, you know, Blockaltestens and Stubendienst, who always had enough soup. They saw to it that they had plenty soup, but they didn't have too much bread. So you could always sell your portion of bread, which was much more valuable than soup. And these 3 sisters, the whole of Passover, and they knew exactly when it was. They were exchanging their bread, and the 3 of them shared another bowl of soup during the 8 days. I admired those girls, and I wished them that I had enough courage and strength in me to do it also.
I
didn't laugh at them. Some laughed. I admired them.
I will just give
Which
you
means
one
that there was
generalization.
something in me that believed that they were doing right, and I was wrong that I didn't have the courage and the strength to do that.
You see, everybody of us can write a book. Marisha, you should write down this. But I want to tell you a generalized story. You see, that will be good for you.
Something with
that will
God?
good. Yeah, that will be good for you. You see, we were in 1942, end of 1941, we were in a ghetto. And over us were flying German airplanes, and they used to throw bombs because the Russian army was still not far from us. And I wasn't like everybody. I was a believer in God, but not 100%. I don't know. You know, we are from the middle class Jewish people, not very frum and not very, you know. And I and my wife saw the bombs falling 100 meters of us. And then we tried to pray. My wife can't pray. Couldn't pray. But I started to pray because I saw the death is near to me. Then I started
So
to
you
pray.
still believed in God even though you went through all that?
I want to tell you that general, when a man is in a very, very position, say a man is dying of cancer, not only this, then the one thing which left him is God.
So you didn't question God that He allowed all this to happen?
No, the last minute when I saw the death is coming, I started terrible prayer to God. I was lying on the floor with my wife. And I told my wife couldn't speak my language. I told my wife how to pray to God, and we are praying to God, and we are saved.
And you believe, and that is of course
That is
due
the
to
last
God.
moment. I say, cancerous people, because I'm a doctor, you know, so a lot of people died of cancer. When it comes to the last phase, you start to pray to God.
So you didn't question God during the Holocaust?
No. In the last phase, when a man see the death is coming, the only thing which exists for him is God.
Then it's too late.
No, but this is how the nature of other people, nature of Jewish people are. Nature of Jewish people.
So that's what I wanted to know. Did they lose faith? And who lost faith?
Miriam, before you excuse me, I would like
I'll tell you, I was in ghetto concentration camp. And what I've seen being as a young girl of 15, 16, what was happening, the way the Germans were tearing babies in half, and the way they were killing and banning people, and the way, it used to be, we had to, people that they used to work, had working permits, we had to leave ghetto, and those who didn't have working permits remained in ghetto. And after a night being out of ghetto, next day when you came in ghetto, you saw people sitting with smiles, with in different positions. You see, they were dead with their eyes wide open, in all different sort of kind of positions, you see, where people also hid, in some rooms. In rooms where we put, like wardrobes next to them or sideboards and put out the liquor, that when the Germans will come, they and some of those people, they survived. But to see, all the dead people, the shot people, and seeing, innocent children, when they used to just come and tear them in pieces and so on. Well, I did say, is there God? Can God see all this and allow them to do a thing like this? See,
so you questioned it.
After the war, what I said to myself, if God should spare me, I still used to say, if God should spare me, I will never believe in a Jewish faith, and I will never marry and bring up children in a Jewish faith. I want them to be goyim, because the goy didn't suffer as much as the Jewish people. Yeah. And God didn't ask, who was right and who was wrong, and who did the right thing and who did the wrong thing, you see. Where it comes in a time like this, all right, being so young and being and going to a Hebrew school, a religious school,
didn't understand
and believing, so much in God and in Shabbat and in everything, and seeing things like this, where it puzzles me. I say, but there isn't a God.
May I just
see?
If you go back to Jewish history, if you go back Jewish history and you revert to biblical times, there were always wars, there were always cruelties, there was always killing.
Not like this.
There were always massacres because we were Jewish. The Spanish Inquisition was not in biblical times, it was later. It was the 14th and the 15th century. Yes. So that's not biblical times. There were always wars. Humans are humans. Rabbi Steinhorn said something. He made a very intellectual and a very academic speech this morning, but there were a few things that are worth remembering. He said, being human is the opposite to being human is not beast, not animal, it's demon.
What is demon?
It's the evil, Satan kind of thing. It's like a devil, yes, a demon.
There were always evil times through men's history.
Now the only thing which is important is that in the past, in the history...
Do you realize how the Russians were treated when the Germans occupied?
But in our history, we are not talking about the Russians, we are talking about the Jews. In Jewish history, there was no questioning of God being good or evil. There was always question, we adhere to the religion, we are the people of the faith, and we kept it until now, just a moment, until now, when there is enlightenment, there is reform in the Jewish religion, there is a lot of assimilation in Jewish religion, and Holocaust happened in the time where people started questioning, is there a God who allows to happen a thing like this?
If God is so good and God is so
on why it happened. And let me tell you,
personify God.
Now let me tell you a little story. I was in the ghetto, I was in the camp, I'm not a believer, I don't go to shul, I don't know any practice of shul. I am a Jew by tradition, because tradition was inspired by my parents, by my mother, by the atmosphere in which I was brought up. But I am one of those who never went to shul, never learned Hebrew. I don't understand what is in the books, and I'm not a hypocrite to sit down and mumble something which I don't understand. So this is my story. Just a moment. This is my position, and I'm stating it. In ghetto and in camps, I was, as you, admiring. And a little story. A camp in Estonia, it is 44 at this selection. On this selection, whoever was over 60 had to go. There was one Jew, a very nice Jew, who prayed every day. He didn't have film to put on. He made it up, and he did it with his son. The son was about 18 or 21, and the father was selected, and he had to go. And the son said, if my father goes, and God allows him to go, I go with him, because I believe in God. And he went, and when the truck came back, there was a little note written in blood, Shema Israel, Adonai Echad. And this was faith.
Of course, that is the strength
This was faith.
of believing.
And this is a problem which will face not only our generation, it will face the generations to come.
All generations.
That if there was a thing like this and it happened, was it because God forsaken us, or was it because we were bad in doing things which we shouldn't have done, or it was just a historical event which has nothing to do with godliness and with faith and so on?
Tell me, if God exists, tell me why this happened to the Jewish people.
It's happening all over the world.
Look, it happened to everybody. It happened just now to 3 million Biafrans. It happens in Kampuchea, in Vietnam. It happens everywhere.
This is the whole question, because the Bible states that God is perfect, that God is good, and yet there is so much injustice.
You know, there was a book.
Please speak one at a time. Please speak one at a time.
Zolinka, do you have so many questions?
So she wants to speak. She wants to speak. No, I'm just asking.
A few years ago, God During History, the book was very passionate. And Rabbi Abrahams at that time was going to address a public meeting on Is There a God?
You can't answer that.
But the venue became so crowded that we had to move to another hall that same evening. Most of the audience were young people, students, young couples. Everybody wanted to hear the late Rabbi Abraham's explanation and interpretation.
Jack, this is for the boss. Jack.
Good for me. All
He
right.
spoke.
I always like the kitchen cups.
I'm listening.
He spoke very cleverly and very beautifully, but there was no direct answer.
You cannot answer.
You can't cut and dry.
Look, in our lectures, we spend
And in
about...
any case, we must not personify God.
No, you don't.
It's not some person sitting upstairs and conducting with what is going on last day.
It's what you
It
believe.
is a feeling in your own heart, in your own soul, that directs you how to behave yourself, what to think, and so on.
That is
That is
what.
my interpretation.
You know,
I know.
I'm listening to everything.
You want to say
I
something?
don't remember well, but it seems to me that somebody wrote on this subject
Yes.
that the idea of a good God is a Christian idea. The Jews approach the God not judging him he's good or evil.
Can I have a...
I'm not sure, but this is so. If you come to the Jewish religion, that they don't expect to God the only good and give
and direct our lives.
yes, give rewards for good behavior and punishment for bad. This is the Christian idea.
Now let me tell you what Rabbi Mervis told us, his explanation. The Jewish religion states that God gave man free will. Man is free to choose to do whatever he wants. If he chooses to do good, fine. If he chooses to do bad, God is not prepared to interfere if he wants human beings to exist, because it's the human who chooses to do the bad, to do the good with the free will that God gave him. So therefore he didn't interfere as such. because it was, he gave man the choice.
Let me just add to
For
that.
Hitler was doing good as far as he was concerned.
No, let me just add to this. In Yiddish,
Who is God?
one must not interfere, one say something.
Yes.
We say in Yiddish, two and God with the helfen. Now, in this case, it was absolutely like that. When I find myself hiding, I didn't know what to do. Whether I should hide myself or should give out myself. Why should I be the one to remain alive when all my people are dead? I remained the only one of my town as far as I knew. There was nobody else except me. No, I didn't have it. I didn't know nobody.
So you interpret.
I want to say like this. Anyone else? Yeah. No, I said like this. Here is a case. It says, God has tested Abraham. How did he test him? What should he test him? He wanted to know whether Abraham is absolutely true in his faith. There is a God. And if he feels that God has told him what to do, he will do it blindly.
So God allowed the Holocaust to test
It's not a question of Holocaust. God has said to Abraham, kill your son. And he went to kill his son. He didn't ask questions whether his mother is alive or mother likes it or not. Now here is a case, exactly what happened to me. I used to question myself. Why should I be alive? All my people are dead. Maybe they are better off than me. Why must I sit in the forest myself, winter, and die from cold? I was just about dead. But I said, if that is his wish, I'll do so. I'll wait until I will be shown what to do. And when the case came, the case came like this. I was tested, and I'll tell you how I was tested. I was living. Now I wanted to keep quiet, otherwise I don't talk. I was living on the roof. On a roof.
On a 67 cent and
on a roof, in a barn, on a roof in a barn. And that man helped me for nearly 3 years. And then he was shot. He was injured. And he sent a friend to call me, and he says, my name was John. He says, John, Jonas, says, come down and come to bandage over my wound because he's getting blood poison. And I said to his friend, how do you expect me to come down? At the bottom are the Germans. I must jump into the German's hand. He says, that is what Ramanauskas asked you to do. And I discussed with myself, and I said, well, for 2.5 years he saved me. Now is the time me to save him. Now how can I reject? I go. So I jumped. And as it happened, the Germans were not there. I jumped down where the Germans at the bottom, they used to slip at the bottom. And I crawled up to Ramanauskas, and I found him. His both feet were shot through, and they are already blue. So, blue means they are poisoned. Now, how can I help him? I'm not a doctor, I don't know nothing to do. All what I could do is to take off the blanket. With his legs was wrapped in the blood. I took off his blanket, and I took off my own shirt, which was already 2 years. 2 years was not washed. It was pitch black like anything. I tear off my basic strips and I bandaged his legs. And as I bandaged his legs, he died. 2 Germans have appeared. They shot 2 Germans, came up and said, Halt! Was machen Sie hier? I said to myself, well, if they are Germans, then they won't recognize me. But the one German started to speak Lithuanian. And he says to me, Cut to dir, bicha. What do you do here? Then I'm not a Lithuanian, not a German. One was a German, one was a Lithuanian German. And I said to him, I looked for a story and I covered him up with a story, and he did not recognize me at all. I told him that's my boss, I work for him. How he did not recognize me, God only knows. But he did not.
So in other words, you got to take a little bit of a chance to tell people.
Yeah, that is what happened, exactly what happened. So I said to him, He gave me 3 hours time. I must take away my boss from that place. So I said to him, yes, I will do it. After 3 hours, exactly like a bloody German punctuality, after 3 hours exactly, he came back.
To see whether you took him away.
Yes. He said, why didn't you take him away? With a gun like this, why didn't you take him away? I said, that man is injured. He hasn't got any legs. I'm by myself. How can I do it? I can't do it. But, I said, if you want me to do it, you see, there in the mountains, but there's a kilometer away. A horse.
And I want to tell you that the spirit of Jews, they're so low, you know. If you wouldn't have a country, Israel, everybody would change its religion. A lot of us, my friends, changed the religion immediately after the war. Yeah.
They didn't believe in God anymore.
They don't want to have nothing to do with the Jews. They don't want their children to be Jewish. I've got a lot of friends now in France, in Paris, who changed, even a cousin of my wife, changed his religion. You see, I don't want to, as a professor in Paris, see, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. When we came to him, he said, I'm a Christian, I'm not a Jew. You know, the state of Israel kept the Jews a little bit up.
Thank you.
If not Israel, a half or 3/4 of the Jews would be
But it's not the
not
Holocaust.
finished. No.
I want to ask one question. Do you people believe, do we believe in the God of the Jews, or we believe in the universality of God?
What do you want?
See, because if there is a universality of God, then God punished Germany by killing them in Stalingrad, by punishing them after the war, and so on and so on. And if there is only a Jewish God, then of course it's a different story.
There's not a Jewish God.
I think God
The
is
people who believe in Jesus Christ,
Huh?
I like the people who are real believers in Jesus Christ, in Jesus Christ.
It means that we still believe in universality of God.
Who said so?
I say so.
Who said
That's not a God is for everybody.
Correct.
Not only for Jews. Out of Kartona machen Soros. What have you better than everybody else?
What you want to say
Then
that,
I say a Catholic
you
who is a real
what you want to
believing
say
God.
is
He's a good man.
No, Catholic doesn't believe in God. Never mind.
No, you are not right. You are right. People believe in God.
Catholics is a believer in Jesus. I was reading a book
All
about
of
it.
them believe in
But
Jesus.
doesn't matter. Jesus or God, the same thing.
No. What is Jesus? You are so wrong. God and Jesus are two different items altogether.
What's about Dietrich?
God is different.
What?
What's about Dietrich?
Now let me put you right on one thing. You mentioned Jesus. We don't
They are not the best
Just
people
a
in the
minute.
world.
The main and cardinal thing is because we believe in God Almighty, who is not human, not in a human being.
Spirit.
While the Christians have turned Jesus into a God. And that is
But sorry, about 1,000 years
when
ago.
our religion split. This is the cardinal difference. We don't sanctify a person, and we don't make God from a human being.
You can believe in that he actually existed as a man, but not that
Of
he is
course
the
he
God.
existed.
No, excuse me.
But he is not a God to us.
Excuse me. The books and the scholars today say that this period is unknown. There was somebody, there could have been somebody, but you cannot pinpoint that there was a Jesus of Nazareth who was a teacher.
Look,
There were many teachers.
you know the story of Masada. You know the story of Masada. The story of Masada. There is 1,000 Jews killed themselves.
Can I cut the cake?
The story of Masada, when the Romans, you know, I'm sure, intelligent girl, when the Romans wanted to destroy all the Jews, all Judea, then 1,000 Jews went to Masada. Masada was a big, you know, Masada, big fortress, a big mountain, and they wanted to defend themselves. And they couldn't defend themselves because the Romans were 10,000, 20,000, and they were only 1,000. And they killed themselves. The end was everybody killed each other. Everybody killed each other. The last one killed himself. You see, if there is real a Jewish God, you see, I say a God is universal.
Yes, that's true.
It can't be a Jewish God. Why we are better than the Christians?
Not a Jewish God. You're making a mistake.
I'm sorry.
Right.
We are not better than...
Not a Jewish God.
The Jews are not better than the Christians.
But we are a chosen people. Why
You
did you
don't-
say so?
That is black.
No, man. Wrong. You
Wait,
see,
no, it's not. You can't say no because it's just what he believes.
no, not
There's
what he
no
believes.
fact.
You see, not what he
He
believes.
believes that we're not a chosen
No,
people.
we are
No,
not
it's
a
not a
chosen
question
people.
of
I believe that we are.
No, it's not a question of... You see, you must not... Look here. First of all, like this. We must not talk for the sake of talking. If anybody feels anything to say, he's welcome. But let's not talk for the sake of talking. We must not deny what happened.
No, you can't.
You must
You
be
may not.
honest and tell the truth. What do you know what happened?
The
I
part you
wasn't
may
there. I wasn't there, but I've been told. History is truth. History cannot be a lie.
History is objective.
History is absolutely subjective because otherwise there's no history. And you must believe if history tells anything, it is true.
What about the Buddha?
You see, that's
I
what
don't
I'm
know
telling
Buddha, I'm
you.
talking about
Say,
it. Now I want to tell you something. We must believe what look here. We don't know what happened in Egypt. We don't know, I haven't been there, but it's told. We were taken out from Egypt by a man called Moses. Moses received the law, go and take out the Jews. So here we are, we were taken out and it's fine. We were given a Torah, it's fine.
Did he have holes, Moses?
Well, he had karnaim. He had
What is
karnaim.
karnaim?
Karnaim means... Well, but don't discuss this. Now, so therefore, we must say one thing. God isn't such a thing that you can take him on by his hand and say, God, look here, I'm here. It isn't such a thing.
So
The God is as much as you have got inside you. If you believe faithfully, that there is a God, and we are those who carry on His commandment, and that is what we have to do. Never mind what happened. We must tell the truth what we know. We have given to the world 10 commandments, and all the religions of the world has taken this from the Jewish 10 commandments.
But the Jews are not better than other.
You don't need to be better.
They are not
Nobody is
better.
asking you to be better.
All people who believe in God,
It doesn't know sin.
they are,
What?
real people who
Who is
believe
real
in God.
people?
Christians are also good people.
No, who says it not? You mix Christians. I'm telling you, we thank God.
We're still eating.
We thank God. And we are happy. And we are happy. And we are drinking. And we haven't forgotten everything what happened to us. And let me say to you this. While we are all here and thank God, some of us are not so well, some are better, some are healthy. We must not forget we have lost from our friends here 4 people. The first one who parted with us was Child, he was from Vilna Ghetto. The second one after him was Lazar, who was a friend of ours. He was in, I don't know which ghetto he was. Riga Ghetto. Mira is in Israel. Next one what we lost was Joseph Tarko. Unfortunately, Lotte is not here. And the last one on the Lord, which was so painful, was Chayale. Now, we are thank God for that we understand that in times of despair and despair, we must not lose hope. We are here and we please God to be wherever we are to remember those whom we knew and who parted with us, because only what we can do is to follow them. That it will be years to come. I hope God will spare you to be as long as possible, but that we could be able to remember those whom we lost so early and so dearly.